Have you ever woken up and opened your eyes to a new morning only to feel like your mind was already 5 steps ahead of you? Before your feet even touch the ground, your thoughts begin racing. An invisible list of to-dos scrolls through your brain, a flash of yesterday's unfinished work, today's expectations, tomorrow's uncertainty. It's not even 7:00 a.m., and you're already tired, overstimulated, stretched thin by noise no one else hears. Maybe you reached for your phone before you reached for God. You checked your notifications, saw the unread messages, the news headlines, the flawless pictures from people who look like they've got it all together. Your pulse quickens, your peace fades, your soul sighs under the weight of invisible demands. You try to rally, shake it off, and get moving. Maybe a strong cup of coffee will reset you, or the shower, or a motivational podcast while you rush through brushing your teeth. But nothing quite calms the inner storm. It's as if your spirit is saying, I don't need to be pushed forward, I need to be pulled inward. What if the most powerful thing you could do in those first few moments wasn't speeding up, but slowing down? Do you not fill your ears with noise, but let silence do the talking? There's a kind of silence that isn't empty. It's sacred. It's the space where you meet God before the world gets your attention. It's where clarity begins to take the place of chaos. And yet we so often skip it, not because we don't value peace, but because we don't realize how deeply we need it. Psalm 46:10 doesn't whisper, get productive, or push harder. It says, be still and know that I am God. Those words aren't passive, they're intentional. A holy invitation to stop striving, to quit the internal sprint, and return to the quiet where truth lives. In that stillness, we remember who we are, and more importantly, whose we are. If your mind feels loud today, if your thoughts are buzzing with worry, shame, urgency, or distraction, you're not broken, you're just weary. And God is not asking you to fix it all in one breath. He's inviting you into one sacred pause, one moment of holy stillness, where you breathe in His peace and breathe out the rush. This morning, what your soul needs may not be another task, another voice, or another rush of adrenaline. It may simply be stillness, the kind of stillness that doesn't come from controlling your circumstances, but from surrendering to God in the middle of them. Start here right now, before the world gets your yes. Give your first yes to Him. There is a stillness that isn't about silence alone. It's about restoration. It's not merely the absence of noise, but the presence of something far greater, healing clarity and divine communion. This is what we call sacred stillness. And in a world obsessed with volume speed and constant stimulation, sacred stillness feels almost rebellious. Yet it may be the most necessary spiritual practice of our time. Sacred stillness is the place where the soul finally breathes. It's not a technique or a productivity hack. It's not something you add to your to-do list like a chore. It's a return, a coming home. It's that deep exhale when you stop striving long enough to let God be the one who speaks first. We live in a culture that celebrates hustle and applauds. Noise, be louder, do more, say something clever. But God doesn't compete for volume. He doesn't shout over our distractions. He waits in the quiet, whispering, not because He's weak, but because He is near. And if we never slow down long enough to listen, we'll miss the gentle voice that restores us. Psalm 46:10 says, be still and know that I am God. These are not just poetic words for a Sunday service. They are a lifeline. They're not a suggestion to take lightly, but a divine instruction with a promise Stillness leads to knowledge, not academic knowledge, not head knowledge, but a deep, anchoring knowing of God's presence, His nearness, His sovereignty, His love. In sacred stillness, you're not expected to come with the perfect words or a rehearsed prayer. You're not asked to fix yourself or prove anything. You're simply invited to sit in the presence of the one who already knows your heart and still chooses to draw close. It's in this quiet space that the mind begins to settle. The chaos begins to unravel, and your spirit starts to align with truth. You begin to remember that you are more than what's unfinished, that God's presence is not earned by productivity, that peace doesn't arrive when everything is finally under control, but when you surrender control into His hands. Sacred stillness is not a luxury, it's a necessity, especially for the weary, the anxious, the distracted, and the spiritually dry. It's not about being empty, it's about being filled slowly, gently, from a well that never runs dry. And so today, before the day claims you, before opinions and obligations demand your attention, find your sacred stillness. Sit with God. Let the silence become sacred, not because of what you bring, but because of who meets you there. Why do our minds feel so loud, so relentlessly unsettled? Even when the room is quiet, the inside of our heads can feel like a storm of swirling thoughts, unspoken fears, unresolved conversations, and mental checklists that never seem to end. It's not always the circumstances around us that create chaos. Sometimes the greatest noise is the one we've internalized. We live in a culture of constant connection and comparison. From the moment we wake up, we are greeted by glowing screens, texts that need replies, headlines that stir, anxiety, curated posts that whisper, "You're behind," without even realizing it. Our first thoughts of the day are often borrowed from someone else's noise. We scroll and we absorb. We compare and we shrink. Our minds become overloaded with input, yet undernourished in truth. Add to that the burdens we carry, silently regrets from the past, fears about the future, the aching memory of what didn't go as planned. And it's no wonder we feel fractured, anxious, disconnected. Morning comes, but we carry the weight of yesterday, like an invisible backpack, heavy with disappointment, insecurity, or shame. The human mind was never meant to process the entire world before breakfast. We weren't designed to be bombarded by dozens of voices before we hear the one that truly matters, God's. But here's the hope. Peace isn't found in escaping noise. It's found in anchoring our thoughts to something unchanging. Isaiah 26:3 promises, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you." That kind of peace doesn't come from avoiding hard things. It comes from focusing on the right one. To be steadfast means to be fixed, grounded, locked in, not on outcomes, not on others' approval, but on God's character, His promises, His unshakable love. The more we practice fixing our thoughts on Him, the more we discover that our minds don't have to be ruled by chaos. They can be ruled by peace. If your thoughts feel like a mess, today take heart. You're not the only one. You're not weak, you're human. And the very chaos you're battling may be the invitation to begin again. Not by trying harder to control it all, but by training your heart to return over and over again to the one who is peace. You don't have to carry every thought that knocks on the door of your mind. You can choose what stays. And today, you can choose trust. You can start this morning, not with more noise, but with a whisper. Lord, quiet my mind. Anchor me in your truth. What if the most transformative part of your day was the moment you did absolutely nothing? No scrolling, no multitasking, no racing thoughts, or trying to get ahead. Just 10 sacred minutes of stillness. 10 minutes where you don't perform, produce, or prove, where you simply breathe and exist in the quiet presence of God. In the fast rhythm of life, this can feel counterintuitive, even uncomfortable. We are so used to movement that stillness seems wasteful. But stillness is not emptiness. It's an intentional presence. It's an act of faith. It's a spiritual investment in your mental, emotional, and spiritual alignment before the demands of the day even begin. Imagine waking up and instead of reaching for your phone or rushing to your next task, you pause, you sit quietly, you close your eyes, you inhale deeply, not just to relax, but to return. With every breath in, you're receiving grace. With every breath out, you're releasing what you were never meant to carry. You may not hear a booming voice or feel a rush of inspiration. That's okay. This isn't about dramatic encounters. It's about creating space for awareness, for intimacy, for healing. Even when it feels uneventful, your spirit is recalibrating. Your mind is being shaped by peace rather than panic. This practice is not a chore or obligation. It's an invitation to start your day with God, not just in theory, but in quiet, reverent stillness. You don't need the perfect words. You don't need to feel spiritual. You only need to be present. These 10 minutes of stillness are a reset button for your soul. It's a declaration that you're not starting your day on autopilot, driven by urgency. You're beginning grounded, centered, and aware. You're remembering that God is already here, already in control, already working on things you haven't even thought to pray for yet. And the beauty of this practice is its simplicity. You don't need a special room or music or spiritual script. You just need a moment, a willingness to pause, to breathe, to be with God. Over time, this small rhythm of silence becomes a refuge, a holy habit. You'll find that the noise of the world loses some of its power when your first conversation is with peace itself. So try it. Set a timer, if you need to, 10 minutes, no agenda, just you and God. Sit, breathe, listen, and let that stillness shape how you walk into the rest of your day with calm, with clarity, with Christ at the center. Prayer is not a performance. It's not about eloquence, perfection, or saying all the right things in the right order. It's about presence. It's about showing up raw, honest, quiet, if needed, and making room for God to meet you in the space where words often fall short. In a world that pushes us to be polished, productive, and always composed, prayer offers a sacred alternative. It invites us into a relationship where we don't have to prove anything. Where can we stop pretending? Where God is not impressed by how put together we sound, but moved by our willingness to come as we are. So if your thoughts feel tangled, if your heart feels heavy, if your spirit is weary, and your mind is loud, this is the perfect place to begin. Not with an explanation, not with guilt, just with surrender. Take a moment to pause. Close your eyes if you can, breathe slowly, and offer this prayer not as a ritual, but as a resting place. Lord, quiet the noise within me. Still the racing thoughts. Let your peace anchor me. I surrender this moment to you. Let the words linger. Let them soften the tension inside you. Even if you don't feel an immediate change, trust that something is shifting. In the silence, in the surrender, God is working beneath the surface. There's no pressure here. You don't need to feel holy. You don't need to fight for clarity. You are simply invited to rest in God's presence and let Him do what only He can do. Bring stillness to your chaos, clarity to your confusion, and peace to your unrest. Sometimes the most powerful prayers are the shortest, not because they're simple, but because they're sincere. They rise from the core of your being and meet God, right where you are not, where you think you should be. When you make space for this kind of prayer, you're not escaping reality. You're entering a greater one. You're reconnecting to the truth that God is not far off or passive. He is present. He is listening. He is near to the overwhelmed and the overthought. So return to this prayer as often as you need. Let it be your centering rhythm in a scattered world. Speak it when the noise gets too loud, when the pressure builds, or even when you don't know what to say. It will never be too small for God, because in the kingdom of God, silence can speak volumes, and the quiet heart offered in prayer is never ignored. When you begin to practice stillness, real sacred stillness, you'll notice something begins to shift. Not all at once, but gently, like morning light, breaking through fog. Your mind, once overwhelmed by everything, all at once begins to slow. It's not that life gets quieter, it's that your soul does. You respond instead of react. The conversations that used to trigger you now pass through a filter of grace. You don't feel the same urgency to prove yourself, to argue your point, or to defend your worth. Something deeper is guiding you now. The chaos that used to govern your thoughts is replaced by a calm that doesn't deny the storm, but knows how to stand firm in the middle of it. Stillness doesn't remove your responsibilities, it reorders them. It gives you eyes to see what matters most. The cluttered to-do list becomes clearer, not because it shrank, but because your spirit has learned how to prioritize peace. You don't chase every voice calling your name. You follow the one voice that truly matters. You become more focused not just on tasks, but on purpose. You begin to notice beauty again, the way sunlight warms the floor, the way someone's laughter lifts your spirit, the way God shows up in small, sacred interruptions. You're no longer rushing through the day as if it's an obstacle course, but walking through it with intention. This is the power of moving from scattered to centered. It's not about perfection or having it all together. It's about living from a grounded place, a place where your thoughts are not pulled in 1,000 directions, but rooted in the truth of who God is and who you are in Him. People will feel it in you before you even say a word. There's a steadiness in your tone, a softness in your responses, a grace that lingers in your presence. It's not performance, it's peace. And the fruit of that peace is felt not just in your own body or mind, but in every relationship you touch. Your words carry more kindness, your patience expands, your empathy grows. You listen more, you assume less, you love better. You no longer live as someone driven by inner noise, but as someone led by inner quiet, by sacred peace, by the presence of God, who centers you each morning, not so you can escape the world, but so you can engage it with strength, tenderness, and unwavering clarity. This is what happens when you make stillness a practice. You don't just feel different, you live differently, and the world around you notices. Because peace is not passive, it's powerful. What would happen if those 10 minutes of stillness became more than a once-in-a-while pause? What if they became the sacred rhythm of your mornings, the way you begin every single day, not with anxiety, but with intentional presence? Not rushing into responsibility, but resting in relationship. Stillness isn't just a momentary fix, it's a spiritual habit that forms the foundation of your inner life. The the more consistently you return to that quiet space with God, the more it begins to shape you. You stop entering your day as someone reactive and overwhelmed. You begin it grounded, focused, held. But for that to happen, you have to protect it. Sacred habits rarely grow without intention. They need a place in your schedule, not just in your heart. Maybe that means setting your alarm 10 minutes earlier. Maybe it means resisting the urge to grab your phone the moment you wake up. Maybe it's as simple as sitting up in bed and breathing before anything else begins. This isn't legalistic, it's life-giving. You're not doing this to earn something from God. You're doing it to receive what He's already offering. Peace that surpasses understanding, clarity that cuts through confusion, presence that steadies your soul. Over time, those 10 minutes become more than just a pause. They become a posture, a way of living. They carry over into your conversations, your reactions, and your decisions. They become the soil where spiritual roots grow deep. Consider keeping a small journal nearby. After your time of stillness, jot down one word or phrase that stood out. Maybe it's something you sensed from God. Maybe it's something you released. Maybe it's just quiet gratitude. The practice of writing it down creates a record not of productivity, but of presence. You begin to see how God is working, not in the loud moments, but in the still ones. And on days when peace feels harder to find, you'll have these written reminders to return to. Like spiritual mile markers, they show you how far you've come, not because of how strong you've been, but because of how faithful God has been. Making stillness a habit isn't about adding pressure to your mornings. It's about subtracting noise so you can hear what really matters. It's about remembering that your day doesn't begin with the world's demands. It begins with God's invitation. Start small, stay consistent, and watch what grows. Peace doesn't usually come with a bang. It comes with a whisper. And when you learn to show up for it daily, that whisper becomes a well that never runs dry. There's something powerful about the words we speak at the start of our day, before the world has a chance to shape your mood, your schedule, or your mindset. What if you let truth do it first? Because the way you begin your day matters. It sets the tone. It sets the pace. And most importantly, it sets your focus. That's why this declaration is more than just a few positive sentences. It's a realignment, a reminder, a decision to live from a place of peace, not pressure. So right now, wherever you are, take a deep breath. Let these words sink in, not as a wish, but as a truth. You choose to believe, I don't have to rush, I don't have to control everything. I begin today from a place of peace, not panic. God is with me. I am centered. Say it again, slowly. Let it meet the anxious parts of you. Let it replace the lies that whisper you're already behind, that you're not doing enough, that everything depends on you. Those thoughts may have become familiar, but they are not true. You are not called to live from a place of constant pressure. You are invited to live from presence, to let peace not panic. Write the narrative of your day. You are not alone. Even when the calendar is full, God is with you. Not just in your big decisions or your moments of prayer, but in every breath, every step, every second of ordinary life. This declaration is not a magic fix. It won't eliminate all stress or remove every challenge, but it does something powerful. It repositions your soul. It lifts your eyes above the noise. It recenters you in truth, and that changes how you carry everything else. Maybe you'll want to write this declaration on a sticky note and place it on your mirror. Maybe you'll record it in your voice and play it back tomorrow morning. Maybe it will become your first whispered sentence before your feet hit the ground. Whatever form it takes, let it be a habit of hope, a rhythm of truth. Because when you begin your day with peace, you're not just surviving it, you're entering it with strength and grace. And even when you forget, or the day pulls you away from center, you can always return. The invitation is never revoked. Peace is not a one-time gift. It's a promise that follows you wherever you go. So begin here, with stillness, with truth, with God. And let your first words carry you forward, not in panic, but in peace. She used to wake up and immediately reach for her phone, news alerts, unanswered emails, unread messages. But one morning, something cracked. Her heart was already racing before her feet hit the floor. A notification popped up. Her friend had just lost a job, unexpectedly. Another post reminded her of everything she hadn't achieved. The weight of it all tightened her chest. She dropped the phone, walked to the window, and just stood there. No music, no talking, no planning. Just breathe, in, out. It was in that fragile silence that she finally heard it. Not an audible voice, but a whisper, deep inside. Come to me. Tears welled up. For the first time in months, she didn't perform. She didn't pretend, she simply paused. That moment became sacred, marking the beginning of a new rhythm, where stillness wasn't avoidance, but an encounter with God. In a world that never stops moving, she discovered the one thing that could actually center her stillness. What began as a desperate attempt to find peace in the chaos became a sacred rhythm that transformed everything. No longer ruled by hurry, no longer driven by noise, she began each day anchored in God's presence. Her thoughts, once scattered and reactive, grew steady and focused. Relationships softened, pressure eased. She realized that stillness wasn't weakness, it was strength, surrendered to something greater. Peace wasn't a luxury, it was her lifeline. And that's the invitation for us too. In the middle of demands, distractions, and digital noise, we have a choice. Before the world defines your day, let God do it. Set aside 10 minutes, turn off the noise, be still, breathe deeply. Let the silence speak. That sacred pause may not change your schedule, but it will change you. Peace isn't found by chasing it, it's found by making space for it. Start there, start today. The greatest lesson from her journey wasn't found in a dramatic breakthrough or a perfect routine. It was found in the quiet, consistent choice to pause, to be still, to let God meet her before the world did. She realized that healing doesn't always come with loud miracles, but often through soft, steady moments of surrender. Her mornings didn't get easier, but they became holier, and that changed everything. In our fast-paced world, where attention is scattered and our worth feels tied to what we produce, this story reminds us that peace begins not with control, but with release. You don't have to earn stillness. You just have to make room for it. So slow down, protect your quiet time. Let God be the first voice you hear each day. Because when your mornings begin in stillness, your whole life begins to realign with purpose, with clarity, and with the unshakable peace that only His presence brings.